Welcome to the Success Sensei podcast for anyone interested in success, happiness, and balance. We'll teach you how to be a black belt at life. And now, your host, former professional fighter, multiple world champion, entrepreneur, and investor, Robert Devane.
Bowing in. This is Roundhouse Rob, the Success Sensei, helping you to win at life one kick and punch at a time. Episode 277. Don't sacrifice long-term for short-term or short-term for long-term.
It's the Success Sensei podcast main event.
Don't sacrifice long-term for short-term or short-term for long-term. So it's a double whammy. Yes, in the one episode, 2 for 1, we're going to talk about each and what they mean. Remember now, you've probably, if you've listened to quite a few of my episodes, you'll learn that I'm not trying to give you the answers. I'm trying to get you to give the answers to yourself, because I know that the knowledge that you need is probably already in your mind. You already know the right thing to do in the majority of cases. You already know the correct action to take for yourself, which is why certain situations make you unhappy, certain situations make you happy. You already have a lot of the answers within yourself. It's my job to stimulate your synapses, to have them firing, just to put the thoughts in your head, maybe a couple of reminders, maybe a little bit of motivation, and certainly to give you my opinion as well, and just put you on the train of thought. You don't have to agree with me, but if I get you thinking and ultimately improving your thoughts, your mindset and your life, then I've done my job and I'm happy with that. So we're talking about not sacrificing long-term for short-term, and also not sacrificing short-term for long-term, because I think people just talk about the first one, which is not sacrificing long-term for short-term. So what the hell does that mean? Well, you know, if you're going to sacrifice the long-term to live in the moment, it means to have, no plan, and definitely no plan for a long future. I guess we're talking about some type of a hedonistic lifestyle where you're seeking instant gratification. It's certainly not delayed gratification. No long-term thought. The ultimate free spirit, living in the moment. Now, the problem with that is if you do go on to have a long life, which ultimately you hope that you're going to have, what kind of preparation does sacrificing the long term and living in the moment and living short term, what kind of preparation will you have in place? Can you continue to have a free spirit mindset when you need your future? You need to have certain type of preparedness for the future. Sure, let's talk about that preparedness. A lot of it, when people are talking about sacrificing long-term and living short-term, they are talking about financial preparedness. A lot of things, whether you like it or not, boils down to money. If you secure your financial future, if you concentrate on your long-term more so than your short-term, financial preparedness equals these things, and these things are very important. Maybe you haven't connected them, but they are. The more financially prepared you are, the more health preparedness you have in the future, especially when your body is ailing, or your mind. Medical, which brings us on to the medical preparedness. Freedom from work. It'd be nice to have freedom from work, not to be tied to something that you absolutely hate in your elder years. Freedom to travel. Be lovely to be able to travel a lot in the future. And a comfortable and stable living conditions, a comfortable and stable home. These are all things: health preparedness, medical preparedness, freedom from work, freedom to travel, and a comfortable and stable home life and home environment. These are all things that financial preparedness can secure for your future, but only if you don't sacrifice long-term for short-term. We all go through phases at certain stages or certain decades where we live in the moment. We don't think about the future. We certainly don't plan the future. We don't want to plan the future. We don't plan careers or pensions, and that's fine at a young age. But once we get to a working age where we need to concentrate on career, it's important the earlier you start to prepare for the future, the better, for all of those reasons. I know when you're 20, it's very hard to imagine that you're ever going to be 60 or 70, but your future self will absolutely thank your younger self for preparing for the future. Now, that comes with the second part of this, and that is not sacrificing short-term for long-term. And I think this is a very, very important one as well, because with different movements, yes, the FIRE movement, there's a big emphasis on, I suppose, short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, and it can go too far. Extreme frugality, extreme sacrifice, and potentially extreme sacrifice for future days that may never come, or you may not be in the frame of mind or the health to be able to fully enjoy them. Sacrificing, especially small sacrifices, not allowing yourself small short-term pleasures for an over focus on long-term is a mistake as well, and can push people away from you, loved ones, friends. A realization that even when I was looking at doing this episode, a realization that came to me is that relationships cost money. It costs money to have relationships. Now, I hear you disagreeing, but if you want to have the freedom to meet a friend and have a coffee, if you're worried about the expense of that coffee, then it absolutely makes it more difficult to have relationships. You'll end up putting so much time into something that's, meeting in a library or whatever. It may not happen as frequently. It may not be, as easy or as I said, as frequent. And ultimately, it can push people away. Now, it goes the same for kids. It's the same if you have children. It's the same if you have a significant other. It's the same if you have any dependents. It's the same if you want to be able to look after and have, decent relationships and be able to help your ailing or elderly parents. Money, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, all comes into it. So if on a short-term basis, you're that extremely frugal, you're that extremely tight with your expenses, you could potentially be sacrificing short-term for long-term in an extreme way. So we are talking about balance. It is important to live a little. Once you have healthy saving and investment plan and procedures in place, spend where you can justify it. It's very easy to justify spending on health. You fire away, or on experiences, meeting that friend for a coffee, or travel experiences, or the odd meal, which could be an experience in and of itself, and it might be a once in a lifetime meal. It could be costly as a result. But if you can justify experiences or spending money on anything that could be to do with health or any area of your life, once you have your healthy and saving and investing plan in place, then it's something that you should consider, and you should consider doing it, because one mindset over another is not the way to go. Now, this is what I was trying to say at the very start of this episode. You already know the right path for you. You already know what you can justify in your life. Maybe you just need to think about it a bit more. Maybe you need a reminder. You already know the balance that makes you happy and that's sustainable. Short term and long term. And I mean, I know money has come a lot into it because it does affect a lot of things, but we're talking about everything. Short term pain for long term gain could be, studying. It could be just working hard for a period of time with a means to an end, something that is going to help you achieve something. It's important to get all of these things in balance. A little sacrifice in short term, if it's going to help long term, is brilliant. But if you're sacrificing long for short or short for long, it's not going to be sustainable. You might have a lot of difficulty, and ultimately, is it the right way to be? It would be lovely. A perfect utopia would be to have enough freedom to eradicate frivolous spending and frivolous pursuits, to keep the ones that give you enjoyment, but also be able to concentrate on long term, and vice versa. So to live in the moment enough to the point where you're not sacrificing long term, and being able to plan for long term without sacrificing short term. I hope I've given you something to think about. Apologies, I have a little bit of a head cold at the moment. I hope that it helps you just with your goals going forward. I hope it helps you to have a little bit of clarity. One way isn't superior to the next, and I find that every expert will promote one or the other. Specifically, I'm hearing a lot at the moment about, short-term extreme sacrifice for long-term gain. Have a think about it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you need any help or any information with your goals. Thank you for listening. I'm Roundhouse Rob, the Success Sensei. Life is a fight you can enjoy and win. Bowing out.
This has been the Success Sensei, fighting the winning fight. So add us, subscribe, like, and comment. Keep those hands up and keep moving forward.